The shuttle's engines hummed with a soft melodic resonance as it descended through Thalassaria's atmosphere. Elias Carter leaned closer to the reinforced glass of the observation deck, his breath fogging the surface as he gazed at the aquatic planet below. The planet's shimmering blue expanse stretched endlessly, broken only by coral archipelagos that glowed faintly in the dim sunlight, like veins of light running through a vast, living organism. He had read about Thalassaria's bioluminescent oceans in countless reports, but no hologram could capture the eerie, alien beauty that unfolded before him now. "First time off Earth, Carter?" A voice broke through his reverie. Elias turned to see Commander Arlen, a grizzled diplomat with sharp eyes and a perpetual smirk, standing with his arms crossed. Elias chuckled nervously, adjusting the strap of his satchel. "Is it that obvious?" Arlen shrugged. "The way you're ogling the view gives it away. You'll get used to it. Every world is strange until it isn't." Elias smiled faintly, but didn't reply. This wasn't just another diplomatic mission for him. It was his first, and the weight of it pressed heavily on his shoulders. As a cultural anthropologist, he had spent years studying alien customs, immersing himself in languages and rituals to prepare for moments like this. Yet, standing here on the brink of an unknown world, he felt more like an awkward tourist than an ambassador of humanity. The shuttle landed with a gentle lurch on a floating platform surrounded by water that glowed faintly in the twilight. A delegation of Thalassarians awaited them, their elegant, translucent forms shimmering under the platform's bioluminescent lighting. They moved with a fluid grace, their movements so synchronized they seemed almost choreographed. Elias's translator implant clicked softly as the tallest of the Thalassarians stepped forward and began to speak. Its voice was musical, a series of undulating tones that shifted between notes as though language itself was a song. "Welcome, honored guests of Earth. We are grateful for your presence in our waters." Arlen returned the greeting with practiced diplomacy, his tone warm but formal. Elias, meanwhile, was captivated by the Thalassarian who had spoken. Its body shimmered with a faint iridescence, and its facial features were subtle but expressive, the wide, dark eyes conveying an intelligence that was almost disarming. The introductions continued, and Elias remained quiet, observing and absorbing as much as he could. It wasn't until the end of the formalities that one of the Thalassarians turned to him directly. "Elias Carter, cultural envoy," it said, its tones lilting, as if savoring each syllable of his name. "We extend an invitation for you to join our family in our home. It would honor us greatly." Elias blinked, taken aback. He had read about Thalassarian hospitality, how they valued guests as symbols of peace and trust, but he hadn't expected such a personal invitation. He glanced at Arlen, who gave him a subtle nod. "I would be honored," Elias replied, bowing slightly. The Thalassarian inclined its head, a ripple of light coursing through its translucent form, a gesture that Elias guessed was their equivalent of a smile. "Then it is settled. Follow me." The journey to the family's home was as breathtaking as it was surreal. They traveled in a sleek organic vessel that skimmed just below the water's surface, the cabin illuminated by the soft glow of bioluminescent flora drifting past. Elias's host, who introduced himself as Marne, explained the origins of the family's status. "We are caretakers of this region," Marne said. "Our ancestors guided the early colonies here, ensuring balance between settlement and the ocean's harmony. It is a great responsibility we carry." Elias nodded, his mind racing to keep up with the nuances of the conversation. The Thalassarians' reverence for their environment was palpable, and he made a mental note to incorporate this perspective into his reports. When they arrived at the estate, Elias was awestruck. The structure rose from the ocean floor like a massive coral spire, its surface pulsating with subtle colors that shifted in time with the ebb and flow of the tides. Inside, the architecture was a seamless blend of organic and artificial, with walls that shimmered like water, yet felt solid to the touch. Elias was introduced to Marnay's family, his spouse, a serene figure named Talien, and their 3 children. The youngest 2 were curious but shy, peeking at Elias from behind the flowing tendrils of a nearby plant. The eldest, Nyrea, stood apart, her posture stiff and her expression unreadable. "It is a great honor to host you," Talien said, their tones melodic but firm. Elias offered his gratitude, but his focus kept drifting to Nyrea. There was something in her gaze, sharp, assessing, that made him feel like she was scrutinizing him in a way the others weren't. Dinner was an elaborate affair, with dishes that shimmered and shifted like living sculptures. Elias was careful to observe and mirror the Thalassarians' dining etiquette, aware that even a small misstep could be seen as disrespectful. Conversation flowed easily, though he noticed Nyrea remained mostly silent, her eyes darting to him occasionally with an intensity that made him uneasy. It wasn't until after the meal that the evening took an unexpected turn. Marnay rose and gestured for everyone to gather. "Tonight we celebrate a union," he announced, his tones resonating with what Elias recognized as ceremonial significance. Elias smiled politely, assuming it was a family tradition. But when all eyes turned to him, his stomach dropped. "Elias Carter, your arrival marks the fulfillment of an ancient rite," Marnay said. "You have chosen to join our family through the bonds of union, bringing our worlds closer together." "What?" Elias stammered, his heart pounding. Before he could protest, Nyrea stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "It is our way," she said quietly, her voice carrying a strange mixture of resignation and defiance. Elias felt the weight of their gazes and the significance of what had just unfolded. He had come to observe a culture, not to become enmeshed in it. Yet, in this moment, he realized that leaving now would shatter the delicate trust between their species. For the first time since he had arrived, Elias felt truly out of his depth. The bioluminescent glow of the Thalassarian ocean filtered through the estate's translucent walls, casting soft, undulating patterns on Elias's face as he sat in the guest quarters. His mind raced with a mixture of disbelief and rising panic. Married, betrothed, bonded, whatever word they used, the meaning remained the same. Elias groaned, running his hands through his hair. The translator implant had confirmed the words. There was no misunderstanding. Somehow, in the span of an evening, he had been swept into a life-altering commitment on an alien world. A soft chime interrupted his spiraling thoughts. The door slid open, revealing Marnay standing in the entrance, his iridescent form shimmering faintly. "Elias Carter, may I enter?" Elias hesitated, then nodded. "Please." Marnay stepped inside, his fluid movements as calm as a tide rolling in. "I sense your distress, but I hope you understand that this union is a great honor. Our people do not take such bonds lightly." "That's part of the problem," Elias admitted, trying to keep his tone respectful. "On Earth, marriage is a deeply personal decision. It's not something we're assigned or—" He caught himself before saying forced into, and softened his words. "It's something we choose." Marnay regarded him for a long moment, his large, dark eyes unreadable. "For us, choice lies not in the act of union, but in the way we nurture it. You will come to understand this in time." Elias opened his mouth to respond, but Marnay raised a hand, webbed yet delicate, to stop him. "You are not alone in your uncertainty. Nyrea too did not expect this path. She is strong-willed, as you will see, but she values her duty above all else. I believe that in time, you both may find harmony." The words, though well-intentioned, did little to ease Elias's turmoil. He managed a polite nod, and Marnay departed, leaving him alone with his thoughts once more. The next morning, Elias awoke to the sound of rhythmic tones drifting through the estate, an alien melody that seemed to harmonize with the shifting light patterns on the walls. A servant, a slender jellyfish-like being, appeared at his door to guide him to breakfast. The family was already gathered when Elias arrived, their forms bathed in the soft glow of the room's ambient lighting. Nyrea sat at the far end of the table, her posture rigid and her gaze fixed on the intricate plate of food before her. She didn't look up as Elias took his seat. "Good morning," he offered, his voice hesitant. Nyrea finally lifted her eyes, her expression as cold and sharp as the coral spires outside. "Morning," she said curtly, before returning to her meal. Elias resisted the urge to sigh. This was going to be harder than he'd thought. As the meal progressed, Elias tried to engage in conversation, asking about Thalassarian customs, their family history, anything to bridge the chasm between him and his new wife. Marnay and Talion answered his questions warmly, but Nyrea remained silent, her responses limited to occasional glances or terse comments. It wasn't until the end of the meal, when the younger siblings began chattering excitedly about an upcoming celebration, that Elias saw a flicker of emotion cross Nyrea's face, a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "What's the celebration for?" Elias asked, seizing the opportunity to join the conversation. The younger sister, Leanne, answered with wide, curious eyes. "It's the Renewal Festival. We honor the cycles of the ocean and the bonds that hold our people together." "Bonds," Elias repeated, glancing briefly at Nyrea. She met his gaze for a split second before looking away. "Yes," Marnay added. "It will be a chance for you and Nyrea to stand together as one before our community, a symbol of unity between our worlds." Elias forced a smile, but his stomach churned at the thought. Later that day, Elias found himself exploring the estate's lower levels, seeking some semblance of solitude. The corridors were lined with glowing murals that depicted Thalassarian history, tales of migration, survival, and symbiosis with their watery world. He stopped in front of one particularly vivid mural, a depiction of a great sea predator being subdued by a united group of Thalassarians. The colors shifted subtly, giving the illusion of movement. "You're studying our history?" Elias turned to see Nyrea standing a few feet away, her arms crossed. She had an air of quiet defiance, as though daring him to misstep. "Trying to," Elias replied cautiously. "Your culture is fascinating." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Fascinating," she repeated, as though testing the word. "Is that why you agreed to this union? To study us like one of your Earth specimens?" The accusation stung, and Elias struggled to find the right words. "No, that's not. I didn't agree to this. Not really. I was caught off guard, just like you." Nyrea's expression softened, but only slightly. "Then why stay? You could have refused." Elias hesitated. "Because leaving would have done more harm than good. To your family, to your people, to both our worlds." For a moment, Nyrea said nothing. Then she stepped closer, her voice lowering. "Duty binds us both, Elias Carter. But duty alone cannot make this work." Before he could respond, she turned and walked away, her silhouette fading into the glowing depths of the corridor. That night, Elias stood on the estate's balcony, staring out at the endless ocean. The waves shimmered under the twin moons, their light casting long, shifting shadows on the coral spires. He thought of Nyrea's words, of the weight of expectations that now rested on both their shoulders. This union wasn't just about them, it was a symbol, a bridge between two vastly different worlds. But symbols alone couldn't solve the deeper, more personal challenges they faced. As he watched the bioluminescent waves dance in the moonlight, Elias resolved to try, not just for the sake of diplomacy, but for the sake of understanding. If he and Nyrea were going to be bound together, they needed to find a way to navigate these waters together. The Renewal Festival loomed closer, and with it came an air of anticipation that seemed to ripple through the Thalassarian estate. Preparations were in full swing. Bioluminescent banners swayed in the gentle currents, and luminescent flora were being cultivated in elaborate arrangements to mark the event. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, yet Elias felt like he was standing on the edge of an abyss, uncertain whether the waters below would cradle him or pull him under. Nyrea had been distant since their exchange by the murals. She avoided prolonged conversation, answering questions with curt, practiced replies. Yet, Elias noticed her watching him when she thought he wasn't looking, her expression unreadable, but heavy with thought. Elias, determined to make some headway, sought out Talion. The Thalassarian matriarch had a serene wisdom that seemed to anchor the family, and Elias hoped she might provide insight into his new wife. Talion was tending to a garden of glowing seaweed when Elias approached. The plants pulsed with soft rhythmic light, their colors shifting as Talion hummed a gentle tune. "Talion," Elias began, hesitating. "May I speak with you?" Talion looked up, her iridescent features warm with curiosity. "Of course, Elias. What troubles you?" He sat on a smooth, coral-like bench, taking a deep breath. "It's Nyrea. I don't think she wants this union any more than I do. But I also think she feels trapped by her duty, just like me." Talion's expression grew thoughtful, the soft glow of her form dimming slightly. "Nyrea has always carried the weight of expectation heavily. She believes in our traditions, but she also yearns for freedom. She is like the tides, strong, relentless, but often conflicted in their direction." "I want to understand her," Elias said earnestly, "but she won't let me in." Talion regarded him for a long moment, then offered a faint smile. "Patience, Elias Carter. The tides do not reveal their secrets to those who rush them, but I believe Nyrea is watching, even if she does not yet know it herself." Elias decided to spend the afternoon exploring the waters surrounding the estate, hoping the activity might help clear his mind. Marnie provided him with a sleek, translucent diving suit that adhered to his body like a second skin, its material allowing him to breathe and move freely underwater. As he swam through the vibrant coral forests, Elias marveled at the alien beauty around him. Schools of glowing fish darted between massive coral spires, their movements synchronized in a hypnotic dance. Strange, jellyfish-like creatures pulsed gently in the currents, their tendrils trailing like ribbons of light. He felt a rare sense of peace, until a shadow passed overhead. Elias froze, his heart pounding as he glanced upward. A massive silhouette glided through the water above, its form sleek and predatory. The creature's movements were deliberate, its dark eyes scanning the reef below. "Stay still," a voice crackled in his ear, startling him. He turned to see Nyrea hovering a few meters away, her own diving suit shimmering faintly in the dim light. She held a sleek, spear-like weapon, her posture tense but controlled. "What is that?" Elias whispered, his voice tight with fear. "A deep-water predator," Nyrea replied, her tone calm but firm. "It's rare for them to come this close to the surface. Something must have drawn it here." The predator circled above them, its long, thin tail swishing slowly. Elias's mind raced, every nerve on edge. He had read about Thalassarian marine life, but nothing in the reports had prepared him for this. "Follow my lead," Nyrea instructed. "Move slowly. Do not provoke it." Elias nodded, his movements careful as he swam closer to her. Nyrea's presence, though still tinged with tension, brought him a strange sense of reassurance. They began to retreat, navigating the coral maze with deliberate precision. The predator continued to circle, its movements growing more erratic. Elias glanced back and saw the creature's dark eyes fix on him, its body coiling as if preparing to strike. "Nyrea," he whispered urgently. "It's coming." Before she could respond, the predator lunged. Elias barely had time to react as the massive creature surged toward him, its jaws lined with rows of jagged teeth. He kicked hard, propelling himself backward, but the predator was relentless. Nyrea moved with stunning speed, placing herself between Elias and the creature. With a sharp thrust, she drove her weapon into the predator's side. The creature let out a low, guttural sound, thrashing violently as it retreated into the depths. Elias floated in stunned silence, his heart pounding in his chest. Nyrea turned to him, her expression unreadable, but her voice sharp. "What were you thinking, swimming out here alone?" "I didn't think," Elias began, but she cut him off. Exactly. You didn't think. This ocean is not your territory, Elias Carter. It is alive, and it does not forgive carelessness. Her words stung, but Elias couldn't deny their truth. Thank you, he said quietly, his voice filled with genuine gratitude. Nerea studied him for a moment, then sighed. You're not as helpless as I thought, but you have much to learn. Back at the estate, Elias replayed the encounter in his mind. For the first time, he had seen a glimpse of Nerea's strength, both her physical prowess and her unwavering resolve. Beneath her cold exterior was someone who carried the weight of her world with unflinching determination. That evening, as they sat together in silence on the estate's balcony, Elias ventured a question. Why did you come after me? Nerea didn't look at him, her gaze fixed on the glowing waves below. Because you are my responsibility now, whether I like it or not. Her words were blunt, but there was no malice in them. If anything, they carried a hint of resignation, even a touch of vulnerability. Then I'll do my best not to be a burden, Elias said, his tone sincere. Nerea glanced at him, her expression softening just slightly. We'll see. For the first time since his arrival, Elias felt a faint glimmer of hope. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The Renewal Festival transformed the estate into a spectacle of light and life. Bioluminescent flora lined every corridor, their vibrant hues pulsing in time with the Thalassarian songs that echoed softly throughout the chambers. Guests from across the region arrived in sleek organic vessels that docked seamlessly along the glowing walkways. Their shimmering forms and flowing garments created a surreal, almost dreamlike atmosphere. Elias stood awkwardly in the main hall, where the first formal gathering was already underway. His Earth-issued suit, though functional, felt bland and out of place amidst the iridescent splendor of Thalassarian attire. He adjusted his collar nervously, acutely aware of the glances from the arriving guests. Some were curious, others guarded. Relax, Nerea's voice came from beside him, startling him. Elias turned to find her dressed in a gown made of translucent, glowing material that seemed to shift colors with every movement. Her presence was commanding, yet there was a hint of nervous energy in her eyes. I feel like a walking science experiment, Elias muttered, forcing a smile. Nerea's lips twitched, almost imperceptibly, in what might have been the beginnings of a smile. Better that than a walking disaster. Just follow my lead. She extended her arm, a gesture that was both formal and surprisingly intimate. Elias hesitated, then took it, trying to ignore the sudden warmth in his chest. The festival began with a series of rituals, each more elaborate than the last. Elias observed as Marnai and Talion led the family in a ceremonial offering to the ocean, their movements precise and deliberate. The water responded, glowing softly as it swirled in synchronized patterns. This is how we honor our bonds, Nerea explained quietly, noticing his curiosity. The ocean sustains us, connects us. It is both our lifeblood and our greatest mystery. Elias nodded, fascinated. And what about us? How does this festival honor our bond? Nerea's expression hardened slightly, though her voice remained calm. By showing the community that we stand together. Even if the bond is imperfect, it must be presented as strong. Elias hesitated before responding. Do you think we'll ever be more than imperfect? Nerea didn't answer immediately. Instead, she turned her gaze toward the shimmering waves, visible through the open arches of the hall. Perfection is a myth, Elias Carter. What matters is whether we can weather the tides together. The evening unfolded in a series of cultural exchanges. Elias found himself drawn into conversations with various guests, their questions ranging from polite inquiries about Earth to more probing discussions about his intentions. Nerea stayed close, occasionally intervening when the questions grew too pointed. At one point, An older thalassarian approached them, a diplomat, judging by his elaborate attire. "Nyrea," he said, his tone formal but warm. "You've taken on quite the challenge with this union." Nyrea's posture stiffened slightly, but she maintained her composure. "Challenges are necessary for growth, Ambassador Joran." Joran chuckled, his gaze shifting to Elias. "And you, human? Do you find our world overwhelming?" Elias chose his words carefully. "It's unlike anything I've ever experienced, but I'm learning. Your people have been generous in their hospitality." The diplomat regarded him thoughtfully, then nodded. "Adaptation is the first step to understanding. Perhaps you'll surprise us yet." As Joran moved on, Nyrea leaned closer, her voice low. "You handled that well." Elias raised an eyebrow. Was that a compliment? Her expression remained neutral, but there was a glint of amusement in her eyes. "Don't get used to it." As the night wore on, Elias and Nyrea found themselves momentarily alone on a balcony overlooking the ocean. The distant sounds of music and laughter floated through the air, but the space between them felt charged with unspoken words. "I didn't expect this," Elias admitted, breaking the silence. "Any of it. Being here, being married to someone I barely know." Nyrea turned to him, her expression softer than he had seen before. "Neither did I, but we're here now, and like it or not, we have to find a way forward." Elias hesitated before asking, "Do you regret it?" "Agreeing to this, I mean." She considered his question for a moment. "Regret is complicated. I don't regret doing what was necessary for my people. But that doesn't mean it's easy." Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, the distance between them seemed to shrink. "Maybe we don't have to make it so hard," Elias said quietly. Nyrea's gaze lingered on him, but before she could respond, a loud, resonant hum filled the air. It was a sound Elias hadn't heard before, deep, almost mournful, and distinctly unnatural. "What is that?" he asked, his pulse quickening. Nyrea's expression shifted immediately to one of alarm. "The warning signal." The celebration quickly descended into controlled chaos as guests moved to designated shelters within the estate. Nyrea and Elias were ushered into a secure chamber along with Marnai and Talien. "What's happening?" Elias demanded, his voice tinged with panic. Marnai's expression was grim. "A disturbance in the deep. Something has stirred the predators." Nyrea gripped her spear-like weapon, her demeanor resolute. "It's more than that. This signal hasn't been used in decades. Whatever's out there, it's not just a random predator." Elias felt a chill run through him. "What do we do?" "We wait," Marnai said firmly. "The guards will assess the threat." But Nyrea's expression betrayed her unease. She glanced at Elias, her voice low but urgent. "Stay close to me." The tension in the room was palpable as the warning hum continued to reverberate. Elias's mind raced with possibilities, each more terrifying than the last, but amidst the fear, he found himself looking to Nyrea, not just as a protector, but as someone he was beginning to trust. And in that moment, he realized something surprising. He didn't feel entirely alone anymore. The air in the secured chamber was suffused with tension. The warning hum had faded, replaced by an eerie silence that felt heavier than the signal itself. Marnai and Talien exchanged concerned glances, their telepathic whispers just out of Elias's comprehension. Nyrea stood by the chamber's sealed doorway, her grip firm on the shaft of her spear-like weapon, her expression a mask of focus. Elias felt like an interloper in a world brimming with secrets, yet something deeper. An instinct, perhaps, told him that whatever was happening concerned him just as much as the others. "What does the warning mean exactly?" Elias asked, his voice breaking the oppressive silence. "It means something has risen from the abyssal rift," Nyrea said without turning to him. "The abyssal rift?" "A chasm far below the ocean floor," Marnai explained, his tone grave. "It is a place even we avoid, The creatures that dwell there are ancient, primal. They do not come to the surface without reason. Elias's heart pounded. And you think one of them has come here? Why now? Nyrea finally turned to face him. We don't know, but something has disturbed the balance. It could be natural, or it could be intentional. Her words hung in the air like a storm cloud, and Elias couldn't shake the feeling that his presence, an outsider from another world, was more than a coincidence. The security chamber doors hissed open, revealing a thalassarian guard clad in crystalline armor that pulsed with faint light. He bowed to Marne and Talion before addressing the group. The creature has been identified, the guard said. A Leviathan-class predator. It is circling the perimeter, but its behavior is erratic. It has not attempted to breach the barriers yet. Yet, Nyrea repeated, her tone cold. We are deploying the fleet to intercept, the guard continued. Your safety remains our priority. Talion nodded solemnly. Proceed with caution. A Leviathan at the surface is not a threat to take lightly. The guard saluted and retreated, leaving the room in heavy silence once more. Elias turned to Nyrea. What's a Leviathan? Something you don't want to meet, she replied bluntly. Well, that clears things up, Elias muttered under his breath. To his surprise, Nyrea's lips twitched in the faintest hint of a smile. Your humor is ill-timed, but appreciated. Despite the danger, Nyrea insisted on returning to the estate's central command hub. Elias followed her, partly out of curiosity and partly because he didn't want to be left alone. The command hub was a vast, domed chamber filled with holographic displays that projected real-time data. Thalassarians moved with purpose, their luminous forms casting shifting patterns on the walls. In the center of the room, a large projection showed the Leviathan, a massive serpentine creature with glowing bioluminescent patterns along its body. Its movements were slow but deliberate, its dark eyes scanning the waters as if searching for something. It's too close, Nyrea murmured, studying the display. Elias stared at the creature in awe and fear. How do you even fight something like that? Carefully, she replied. Suddenly, the Leviathan let out a deep resonant sound that reverberated through the chamber. The holographic projection flickered as the creature's bioluminescence surged, casting an eerie light across its massive form. It's emitting a signal, one of the technicians said. Unusual frequency. What kind of signal? Nyrea asked, her tone sharp. We're not certain, but it's not random. It's almost like a call. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. A call for what? The technician hesitated. For others, perhaps, or for something specific. Nyrea's eyes narrowed. If it's calling, we need to silence it before more come. Against Marne's objections, Nyrea insisted on joining the defense team. Elias, to his own surprise, volunteered to go with her. You're not trained for this, Nyrea argued as they suited up in reinforced diving gear. I'm not useless either, Elias shot back. If this thing is here because of me or because of something I've done, I need to help fix it. Her expression softened slightly, though her voice remained firm. Stay close to me, no heroics. Wouldn't dream of it, he said, managing a weak smile. And the defense fleet consisted of sleek, organic vessels equipped with energy-based weapons. Nyrea and Elias boarded one of the smaller crafts, which was piloted by a stoic thalassarian named Corin. As they descended toward the Leviathan, the water grew darker, the light from the estate fading into an inky void. The vessel's sensors painted a clearer picture of their surroundings. Towering coral structures, schools of fish scattering in every direction, and the Leviathan itself, a colossal presence that seemed to dominate the ocean around it. It's reacting to our approach, Corin reported, his tone calm but tense. The Leviathan turned toward them, its glowing eyes locking onto the vessel. It let out another resonant call, and the water around them seemed to vibrate. Weapons ready, Nyrea commanded. The vessel's energy cannons powered up, their soft hum filling the cabin. Elias gripped the edge of his seat, his pulse racing. "Hold," Nyrea said, as the Leviathan began to circle them. "We need to understand its movements before we strike." The creature's bioluminescence pulsed rhythmically, almost hypnotically. Elias leaned forward, studying the patterns. "It's communicating," he realized aloud. "What are you talking about?" Nyrea asked, her eyes narrowing. "The patterns. It's not random. It's repeating the same sequence like a signal. Maybe it's trying to tell us something." Before Nyrea could respond, the Leviathan lunged. The vessel veered sharply as Corin maneuvered to avoid the attack. The energy cannons fired, striking the creature's side and sending a ripple of light across its body. The Leviathan roared, its bioluminescence flaring brightly. "It's enraged!" Corin shouted. Elias clutched his seat as the vessel shook violently. But even amidst the chaos, he couldn't shake the feeling that the creature's behavior was more than just aggression. "Nyrea," he said urgently, "we need to stop attacking." "I think it's trying to warn us about something." "Warn us?" she repeated, incredulous. "Just trust me." For a moment, Nyrea hesitated, her eyes locked on his. Then she made a decision. "Corin, hold fire." The vessel ceased its attack, and the Leviathan paused, its massive form hovering in the water. Its glowing patterns shifted, becoming more complex. "It's reacting to us," Elias said, his voice filled with awe. Nyrea studied the patterns carefully. "What is it trying to say?" Elias's mind raced as he pieced together the rhythmic pulses, and then, with a sinking feeling, he understood. "It's warning us," he said quietly. "Something worse is coming." The Leviathan's warning echoed in Elias's mind like a drumbeat, relentless and foreboding. As the defense vessel ascended toward the estate, the water around them felt charged, alive with an undercurrent of something vast and unseen. The Leviathan's luminous patterns still lingered in his memory, a language of light he couldn't quite decipher, but instinctively understood. Danger was imminent, and it was far greater than the creature itself. Back in the command hub, chaos reigned. Data streams from the underwater sensors displayed an unsettling picture, massive energy surges emanating from the abyssal rift. The readings were unlike anything the Thalassarians had ever recorded. "It's spreading," one technician said, his voice taut with fear. "The energy field is expanding rapidly. It's destabilizing the surrounding waters." Marnay's face was grim. "This isn't natural. Something or someone has awakened the rift." Elias turned to Nyrea, whose usual composure was replaced by a tense, calculating demeanor. "What does it mean?" he asked. "It means we're running out of time," she replied. "If the rift destabilizes completely, the shock waves will destroy everything in its path, including the estate." "And the Leviathan?" Nyrea hesitated. "It's part of the rift's ecosystem. If it's here, it's because it was forced out." "By whatever's coming next," Elias finished, the weight of her words settling over him like a storm cloud. A plan was hastily devised. The estate's most advanced vessel, the Nyara, would descend to the rift to investigate the energy surges and, if possible, neutralize the source. The mission was perilous. No one had ventured into the abyssal rift and returned. "I'm going with you," Elias said firmly when Nyrea announced her intent to lead the mission. She shot him a sharp look. "This isn't a negotiation, Elias. It's too dangerous." "And you think I'm just going to stand here while you risk your life?" he countered. "I'm not useless, and you know it." Their gazes locked, and for a moment the tension between them was almost palpable. Finally, Nyrea sighed, her resolve softening just enough to let him in. "Fine," she said, "but if you get yourself killed, I'll never forgive you." "Noted," Elias replied with a faint smile, earning a flicker of amusement in her eyes. The Nyara was a marvel of Thalassarian engineering, its sleek crystalline hull designed to withstand the crushing pressures of the deep. As the vessel descended into the rift, the waters grew darker and colder. The faint glow of bioluminescent life forms the only source of light. Inside the ship, the atmosphere was tense. Nyrea stood at the helm, her focus unyielding as she guided the crew through the treacherous descent. Elias sat nearby, watching the data streams on the monitors. The energy readings grew stronger with every passing moment, their chaotic patterns suggesting a force beyond comprehension. "What could cause this?" Elias asked, breaking the heavy silence. "Legends speak of ancient machines buried in the rift," Nyrea said without looking at him. "Remnants of a civilization that existed long before us. If those machines are waking up—" She didn't finish the thought, but the implication was clear. Elias swallowed hard. "And the Leviathan?" "It's a guardian," she said. "It's trying to protect its territory, and us, from whatever lies below." As the Nyara approached the rift's edge, the monitors flickered, and the ship shuddered violently. The crew scrambled to stabilize the vessel as the water around them seemed to ripple with unseen energy. "We're picking up a signal," one technician reported. "It's repeating." "Put it on speaker," Nyrea ordered. A low, resonant sound filled the cabin, layered and haunting. It wasn't just noise, it was a pattern, a sequence that felt almost alive. Elias leaned closer to the console, his mind racing. "It's like the Leviathan signal," he said, "but more complex. It's calling for something, or someone." Nyrea's expression darkened. "We're getting closer to the source." The rift loomed before them, a vast yawning chasm that seemed to stretch into infinity. Strange pulsing lights emanated from its depths, casting eerie shadows across the Nyara's hull. "Scanning for the source of the energy," the technician said, his hands trembling over the controls. The monitors lit up with a burst of data, and the crew froze as the image came into focus. A massive, ancient structure lay at the bottom of the rift, its surface covered in intricate, glowing patterns that pulsed in time with the energy surges. "It's a machine," Nyrea whispered, "still operational after all this time." "What's it doing?" Elias asked, his voice barely audible. "Awakening," she replied. Before they could react, the monitors flared red and alarms blared throughout the ship. A massive energy pulse erupted from the structure, sending shockwaves through the water. The Nyara was thrown off course, its systems struggling to recover. "Hold on!" Nyrea shouted as the ship rocked violently. Elias gripped his seat, his heart pounding as the ship stabilized. The crew worked frantically to regain control, but the energy pulses grew stronger, each one more intense than the last. "It's destabilizing the entire rift," the technician warned. "If we don't shut it down, the collapse will be catastrophic." Nyrea's jaw tightened. "Prepare the deep-sea suits. We're going down." Elias's eyes widened. "You're not serious." "This is our only chance," she said. "The ship can't get any closer, but we can." Despite his fear, Elias nodded. "I'm with you." The descent into the rift was harrowing. Encased in their reinforced suits, Nyrea and Elias moved cautiously toward the ancient structure, their lights cutting through the darkness. The energy pulses were almost deafening at this depth, vibrating through their suits like a living force. As they approached the machine, its sheer size became apparent. It was a monolith, its surface etched with patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "What do we do?" Elias asked, his voice trembling over the comms. "There," Nyrea said, pointing to a central panel that pulsed brighter than the rest. "It's the core. We need to disable it." They worked together to reach the core, dodging sudden bursts of energy that threatened to knock them off balance. As they approached, Elias noticed strange symbols glowing on the panel, symbols that looked disturbingly familiar. "It's the same pattern the Leviathan was using," he said. Nyrea nodded. "It's all connected. But how?" Before Elias could answer, The machine let out a deafening roar, and the water around them surged violently. "Whatever you're going to do, do it fast," Elias shouted. Nyrea worked quickly, her hands moving deftly over the panel as she deciphered its alien interface. The energy pulses grew stronger, each one shaking the very foundation of the rift. Finally, with a sharp, resonant tone, the machine powered down. The lights dimmed and the water grew still. "It's done," Nyrea said, her voice heavy with relief. But as they turned to leave, the Leviathan appeared, its massive form hovering just beyond the structure. Its bioluminescent patterns pulsed once more, and this time Elias understood. "It's thanking us," he said softly. Nyrea nodded. "For now, the rift is safe." The Nyara ascended through the now calm waters, its hull bearing the marks of its harrowing journey into the rift. Inside, the atmosphere was heavy with both relief and exhaustion. The ancient machine lay dormant once more, the immediate crisis averted, but the crew knew the consequences of their actions would ripple far beyond this single event. Elias sat in the ship's central chamber, staring through the thick, crystalline viewport at the shifting hues of the Thalassarian Ocean. The Leviathan's final pulse of bioluminescent patterns lingered in his mind, a mix of gratitude and a warning he couldn't quite shake. The creature's departure had felt almost ceremonial, as though it had acknowledged something fundamental about their shared survival. Nyrea entered the chamber, her usual poise tempered by visible fatigue. She lowered herself into a seat across from him, her gaze steady. "You did well out there," she said, her voice softer than usual. Elias gave a weak laugh. "I'm just glad we're alive. That rift, it's unlike anything I've ever imagined." "It changes you," Nyrea said, her tone laced with a gravity that made him look up. "No one who touches the abyss comes back the same." He studied her for a moment, the layers of her emotions evident in her eyes. Nyrea, who had seemed so unshakable, now carried a vulnerability he hadn't seen before, a crack in the armor that made her feel more human, more reachable. "And you?" he asked. "How have you changed?" Her lips curved into a faint smile, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I thought I understood what it meant to lead, to protect. But seeing you out there, risking everything for a world that isn't even yours..." She paused, her voice catching. "It reminded me that leadership isn't just about control. It's about trust." The weight of her words settled between them, unspoken yet profound. When the Nyara finally docked at the estate, the Thalassarian Council was waiting. The elders' faces reflected a mixture of astonishment and apprehension as Nyrea recounted their journey to the rift and the deactivation of the ancient machine. Elder Saren, the head of the council, leaned forward. "You've saved us from immediate destruction, but the abyss is not defeated. What you encountered was merely the surface of a much deeper mystery." "We understand," Nyrea said. "But for now, the rift is stable. The Leviathan has returned to its domain, and the energy surges have ceased." Elias stepped forward, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "This isn't just a Thalassarian problem. Whatever lies beneath the rift is ancient and powerful. If it wakes fully, it won't stop at your oceans. It could ripple across the galaxy." His words hung in the air, and for the first time, Elias felt the full gravity of his place in this world, not as an outsider, but as someone intrinsically tied to its fate. As the council deliberated, Elias found himself drawn back to the gardens, where the bioluminescent flora swayed gently in the current. The stillness was a stark contrast to the chaos of the past few days, yet his mind refused to quiet. "Contemplating your next grand escape?" Nyrea's voice broke the silence, laced with a touch of humor. He turned to see her approaching, the soft glow of the plants casting an ethereal light on her features. "Just thinking about how much has changed," he said, "about how much I've changed." She stopped beside him, her gaze fixed on the luminescent blooms. "You've adapted faster than most. It's unexpected." "That's one way to put it," he said with a chuckle. Unexpected seems to be my specialty lately. For a moment, neither spoke, the silence between them filled with unspoken thoughts. Finally, Elias turned to her, his expression serious. Back in the rift, when we were trying to shut down the machine, I wasn't sure we'd make it out alive, but the thing that kept me going wasn't just survival. It was you. Nyrea's gaze snapped to his, her composure faltering. Elias, He held up a hand, his smile faint but genuine. I'm not saying this to pressure you or complicate things. I needed you to know. Her eyes softened, and for the first time, she let down her guard completely. You're a strange man, Elias. Stubborn, impulsive, and far too curious for your own good. And? He prompted, his grin widening. And? She sighed, a smile tugging at her lips. You've forced me to see things differently, to feel differently. I don't know what this is between us, but I'm not afraid to find out. The days that followed were a blur of activity. The estate's defenses were bolstered. The council initiated plans to study the rift's dormant machine, and alliances were forged with neighboring regions to ensure mutual protection. Elias found himself at the center of it all, no longer a guest, but a vital part of the Thalassarian community. His relationship with Nyrea deepened, their dynamic shifting from one of cautious respect to something far more personal. In the quiet moments, they would sit together in the gardens or by the observation deck, sharing stories of their worlds and dreaming of what might come next. Humor and warmth punctuated their conversations, the tension of their initial encounter replaced by a bond forged in the depths of the abyss. One evening, as the ocean's bioluminescent glow bathed the estate in soft light, Nyrea and Elias stood on the terrace overlooking the waters. Do you think the rift will ever wake again? Elias asked, his voice low. Perhaps, she said, but if it does, we'll face it together. He glanced at her, his smile tinged with gratitude and affection. Together, huh? You're stuck with me now. She laughed, the sound light and genuine. Don't make me regret it. As the ocean stretched before them, vast and unknowable, they stood side by side, two beings from different worlds united by circumstance, courage, and an unyielding connection. And for the first time, Elias felt truly at home.